Alright guys, what's up? This is Joe from Faithbound Travel. No Kathleen today, it's just me. I'm coming at you with this truck video now. Disclaimer before we even start. This video is not about who makes the best trucks, the best truck brand. Is my truck the coolest? Is your truck the coolest? I don't really care about that. We are putting this video out just because I get a lot of questions about, or I would say Kathleen gets a lot of questions and like messages about which trucks we like the best. What's a good truck for towing your first RV? What's a good truck for towing a travel trailer? What's a good truck for towing a fifth wheel? Us as a family, Faithbound Travel, we've been RVing full-time on and off for the last 4 years. Now we are in a home stationary, but we are even looking at transitioning to a different type of RV for weekending and longer family trips. But we have had a 30-foot travel trailer that we towed with a half-ton 2018 F-150, and I've also towed that trailer with a 2020 F-250 3/4 ton diesel. After that, we bought a 42-foot fifth wheel weighing about 15,000 pounds that I towed with the 3/4 ton 2020 F-250 and a 1-ton 2014 fully deleted Cummins 3500 dually. So let's get it started. So we started with the half-ton 2018 F-150 10-speed transmission. The reason we started with that is because I had just bought that truck. That was before I even knew we were going to get into RVing at all. So I bought that truck essentially just as a grocery getter with my family, my wife and kids. It was a very comfortable truck. At that time, I want to say that was my third Ford truck. So I was kind of on the Ford bandwagon for quite a while. Very good trucks. I bought them high mileage. I bought them brand new. I've never really had any major issues until we got into the 2020. Then I started kind of seeing things that I was not a fan of for like the price that I paid for the vehicle. But you know, that's either here nor there. It's kind of a lot of it was things that I couldn't really control. But with the half-ton, we went all the way from Arizona, all the way up into Colorado, all the way up to Washington State. So we went through the mountains, we went flat, we were out by the coast, towing the travel trailer. The pros of that truck, it was a lower cost of entry, even though it was a brand new truck. I got in that truck for a lot less than I got into the diesels for, just because, you know, the diesel market is very expensive trucks. They're very strong, very capable trucks. But that was just a 2018 F-150 EcoBoost XLT, like a fully loaded XLT, but did very well. In the mountains it did well. The only problems I had is when we got into elevation up in Colorado. The turbos were kind of starving because the air gets thinner, but you're gonna run into the same problems with a diesel depending on how heavy your trailer is. So I had to pull over a couple times because my trans was getting a little hot, and because the turbo was kind of starving, so the EGTs were kind of heating up on that truck. But overall, it's a good truck. I would recommend it for towing for sure. It's not a super heavy vehicle, so I would just watch the weight of the trailer that you're gonna tow. I would stay under probably 10,000 pounds for trailer wise. But overall, it was a very good truck. That travel trailer was around 7,800 pounds, and that truck used to be able to stop it on a dime. We could get up mountains pretty quickly. And even if we weren't going up mountains quickly, we went up pretty steadily without like sacrificing any power. And we were all over the place in that truck. Really loved that truck. It did everything that we ever asked it to do, and then some things that we probably shouldn't have asked it to do. So after that truck, I was looking for a diesel just because of the couple of times that the transmission and the engine temps were getting a little high. So I'm like, okay, for longevity of the truck, I need a heavier duty truck to kind of save the transmission and save the engine temperatures. So we went shopping. Actually, one day I went to go get an oil change at the Ford dealership, and I saw the new 2020s, and I just was checking them out. scheduled my oil change on my Ford. I was checking them out, and one of the sales guys, of course, comes up and he's like, "Hey man, that's a nice truck you got." I said, "I know. I'm just coming to get an oil change on it." They were like, have you looked at any of these? And I was like, "No, I don't see anything that is cool enough out here or that catches my eye enough for me to want to buy another truck. But I am kind of looking, I'm kind of poking around." And he took me over to a black one. It was super nice, but at that time we lived in Arizona, and a black vehicle is a no-no out there. For me it was a no-no. So I was like, this is a cool truck, but I'm not buying a black vehicle out here. And he's like, "Okay, well, what colors are you open to?" I said, I would be open to a white. I'd be open to a silver. And he's like, "I don't have anything silver." Or no, he did have a silver truck. He had a 2019 F350 that was silver, a dually. But in the state of Arizona, if you have a 1-ton vehicle, you have to register it commercially. So you have to have commercial insurance, even if you don't own a company. That's just their legislation out there out west. And I wasn't gonna pay that. Just towing RVs, I'm not gonna commercially register one of my personal vehicles. So I was like, nah, 1 ton's out of the question out here. So he's like, "I just had a truck drop off a few trucks in the back. Let's go see what we got." So we ended up finding this 2020 white Lariat Ultimate Package 4-wheel drive, you know, the whole shebang. It still had the stickers and everything on it, brand new. And he's like, "I got this, you know, we can take all the plastic off and we can get a test drive." And took the plastic off, I rode it around the block. It was a great truck. So the pros of that truck, very, very comfortable. Of course, I had just came out of the 2018 F-150, and they shared the same cab, the same controls, the same trailer brake. That truck was a ton stronger. Of course, you're going from gas to diesel, but you're going from twin turbo to single turbo. But the power strokes are very strong trucks, very torquey trucks. That had the 10-speed transmission as well. It was the first year of the 10-speed transmission. I never had a problem with it. That vehicle, I was getting amazing gas mileage, and it was just a very comfortable truck to tow with, especially with the travel trailer. Man, we were all over just weekend camping in that, because we had just got to where we were deciding we were going to sell our travel trailer and get a fifth wheel. So we had the truck first. It was great. Sold the travel trailer, bought the fifth wheel. In the beginning, I thought the fifth wheel was going to be a little much for a 3/4 ton, but since it was a brand new, like, modern diesel, it fit inside of the payload and it fit for the overall tow capacity. And that thing handled like a champ. Like, we were taking it boondocking out in the foothills in Arizona desert, over to New Mexico, and kind of hanging out in the mountains. And I never had a problem getting it uphill. I never had a problem stopping it. We towed all the way from Arizona out here to Texas, and from Texas to Louisiana before we really had any problems. The truck got stolen in San Antonio. If you guys are longtime subscribers, you know how that went. After that, we just had nothing but problems with the truck, because they tore up the electronics in the dash, and I don't think it ever quite got right. I started having leaks through the windshield that were coming down into the panels, getting water in the truck, and then the backup cameras were acting funky. I just started having a bunch of little problems because whoever stole the truck, they tore it up pretty good. So long story short, with that truck, great truck as well. With the Fords, you have to be up on your maintenance for sure. And then the demise for that truck and for Fords for me was after we towed from Texas to Louisiana on our way to the Keys. I got bad fuel in New Orleans, or Baton Rouge, going to New Orleans, and it tore up the CP4, the high pressure fuel pump in that truck. And I know that doesn't have anything really to do with Ford. It's about the fuel. But the thing that kind of turned me off is every time I had to take my truck to Ford for any kind of servicing or warranty work, it was always, I need the truck for a week, I need the truck for a month, and it ended up being 2.5 to 3 months because they either didn't have enough techs or they only had one diesel tech, and it was just always a super runaround, and I would have to almost kind of like contract my own work. I would have to make sure I called them every week to see where my truck was at to getting it done. And full timing, having one vehicle, I really can't have a vehicle sit for 2 months. You know what I'm saying? Like I need my RV moved, or I need my truck for work for my company. So having a truck sit for 2 months is unacceptable for me. And there was no loaners, there was nothing like that. I had to rent a vehicle. So that's just my heads up to you if you're buying these new Ford trucks. If your truck has to go in for anything, you could be in a bind. But that was the con on that truck. Besides those cons, the truck was great. I got everything that I wanted out of it, and it was really worth what I was paying for the truck. So after we got the truck back from the CP4 being fixed, we went into looking for another truck during the COVID situation. So finding a truck was a nightmare. It took us like 2.5 months of finding a truck, and I was looking every single day. Texas, Oklahoma, Florida, even out west, back out in Arizona. I'm looking for trucks all over the country, and I just cannot find what's worth the money that they're asking. Because this is during the COVID times, of course. So I ended up finding a 2014 3/4 ton dually that was in really good shape at the time, and it was a very decent price for what it was. So I ended up taking a test drive in that, loved it, checked it out, got under it, everything was good. Got that truck. I knew I wanted to delete that truck because everything I've ever researched about the Cummins is once you open them up, once you can get them open, they're gonna do everything that you want, and you're gonna be looking at rebuilding the actual truck before you have to touch the motor. So we ended up getting that worked on, got everything kind of done, got a turbo replaced, got everything handled as far as getting the emissions set up to where we had no DEF, and we were rocking with that truck with the fifth wheel like nothing. The one thing I will tell you is if you've never towed a trailer, if you've never towed a travel trailer, fifth wheel, gooseneck, your most comfortable towing vehicle will be a 3/4 ton dually. Reason being is that truck is so heavy and so stable with the dual rear wheels in the back end and the low gearing is that it's almost a lineless tow. All you have to do is make sure you're staying in between the lines and that you're keeping your speed. The truck's gonna handle everything else. It's gonna brake how you want. It's gonna take off how you want. It's gonna handle all the weight that you would want as long as you're under the payload for whatever year you end up getting. Just because you have a dually doesn't mean that you can tow every fifth wheel. You have to look at the payloads. You have to look at what year you have to how heavy of a rig you're looking at getting. Don't let anyone just talk you into buying a dually and saying that you can tow the world, because you can't. Not legally anyway. But that truck was perfect, did everything I needed. But while we're on that, we partnered with Peragon covers a while back. We've had that cover for about 6 months. My truck was kind of in and out of the shop, but I've had it long enough and done enough stuff with that cover and my truck bed, because I have an 8-foot truck bed, long bed dually, to know like the pros and cons. So Peragon covers, they make a very well built cover, aluminum slat style cover that accordions into the back of the bed. It's fully removable and it's lockable. The one we got was like a low profile black for a long bed dually. Very nice cover, lockable. It's not one of those covers where you have to close your tailgate before you close the cover. You can actually close the cover and close the tailgate right on it, which is definitely a pro. Another pro is that it's lockable and that it has a really low profile. So with your kingpin on your fifth wheel swerving left to right, even if you get it all the way to 90, because I've had my fifth wheel at a 90 with it before, you don't have to worry about your kingpin scratching the bed rails of the cover. That's a real reality for truck bed covers that I've seen. So those are the pros for me. The cons are I use my entire truck bed. The panels on top, they accordion into the very front of the truck bed up next to the cab, and it's about a foot worth of space. So for me, using that very back foot is where I used to keep all like my jerry cans, my gas can, and my generator. I couldn't do that full timing with the Peragon cover because it took up that space. Now that I'm in the house, if I wanted to use that whole space, I could take the panels out and put them in my garage. But when you're full timing and you pay the money that it costs for a Peragon, you're not gonna take the panels out and sit them on the ground under your rig, and they're pretty long. So if you wanna put them in your rig, they're gonna take up quite a bit of space. And so that's a con for me. Con number 2 was you have to adjust them. So you gotta get them adjusted just right so they don't rattle from wind when you're driving, and you have a bunch of little like nitinoid little noises, because it took about a month and a half for us to really dial it in to where it was no longer rattling, to where it was broken in enough to where one person could open and close it, because it's very stiff when you first get it. Con number 3 is a huge con for me. It's a metal black cover. So being in Texas, going back and forth to Arizona, going to New Mexico, when my truck sits out in the sun, that cover gets extremely hot. So for me to open it, you have to press down on the top, and you're talking, this thing is on fire if the truck's been sitting outside for a while. So it's on fire. So to open it, I have to put on gloves to push down on the top because it's very hot. And then you have to get it pushed down and open, and then you're good. Another thing that I guess could be a con is if you have a truck lifted higher than mine. I have a level truck on 35s, a level dually on 35s, so my truck sits kind of high up to about my neck. If you had a lifted truck, if you don't have a step ladder, you're gonna have a difficult time getting this cover open and pushed back, just because you have to be able to get on top and push down. It's just a lot of little things like that that I feel like if they fix those things, they would have probably the best cover on the market, but those things are holding it back between the price point and the usability for how I use my truck bed, because I use my truck bed in a bunch of different ways. I tow a bunch of different things, and then I have stuff in the back always between personal and my company. It wouldn't be my first choice of bed cover, but it is a very nice bed cover. I'm glad we partnered with them, and they definitely took care of us as far as shipping, making sure it's shipped very well packed and in a timely manner. So Peragon covers, great cover, and I would recommend, I would just ask, how do you use your truck bed? So for me personally, I know you guys want to know, my favorite truck that I've had is going to be all 3, because when we had them and what we were using them for, they all did the job. Right now, of course, I love diesel. I love the sound. I love that I have a deleted one, and when I go through little tunnels and under overpasses, I can mash on the gas, and that big turbo will send great sounds through my exhaust. But I'm almost to the end of the road on the dually because I don't have a big trailer to tow anymore, and I kind of don't need that big of a vehicle. But we're looking at doing some other things with it. Maybe opening a transportation company for moving RVs and trailers. So I'll keep you guys posted if we end up going that route. Again, I'm Joe from Faithbound Travel. My wife Kathleen is normally here with the kids, but it's just me today. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.